This video today is for my fellow women that have royalty within, but charge prices like we're at a freaking discount market. We're not at Target, we're not at Aldi. If you're German or if you're at certain parts in the US, you know what I'm talking about. Aldi is a great discount market, but that's not who you are. So this is for my women that have difficulty charging not what they are worth, but what your products, your time, your offerings are worth. And women have a harder time with that, and especially women that are in the coaching realm, in the mentoring realm, women that offer something that is more intangible, because what we're offering is often so intrinsic to us, right? We nurture you, baby. That's just what we do. So for some of us, it can be really, really hard to charge a price that feels good and not just super, super comfortable, okay? Because there's a difference in a price that feels really, really comfortable and a price that feels good for your energetic system. And so in today's video, you're going to learn a lot of my lessons. You will explore the main wounds that kept you in a state of chronicle undercharging. We will explore when it is your time to raise your prices, and you will learn about the inner alchemical process that is connected to it. You will learn about the energetic harms of undercharging for you and the receiver, and you will gain a deeper understanding over the law of reflection. So let's start here. It's usually the ones with the purest intentions that have the hardest time demanding what their time and offering is really worth. And it's beautiful, right? There's the sense of wanting to be of service. There's this connection to purity. But this is the thing. The brightest lights, those of us that really came to assist, often come with a reversed ego, which means we come with an internal voice that tells us that we're not good enough, right? And it's because of the lesson we're here to learn. Those with the brightest lights come into the most humbled existences because we're here to learn how to reclaim our creative power, but we come with a pre-programmed, super strict observer voice so that we will never abuse it. So it's kind of like our built-in protective system. But if we do not master it, this can really keep us stuck or keep us in a false sense of unworthiness. When it is literally just a reversed ego, it's the protective system of the universe to make sure that a bright light like you isn't abusing their powers. So your ego is probably not gonna sound like, oh, you're the fucking greatest of all times. You're the GOAT. Look at you, right? That's probably not how that internal voice sounds. Right? Of course, right? Sometimes there might be an inner hype man or hype woman, like great, yes. But usually there's probably this underlying layer of self-doubt and who am I? And I'm not good enough. And questioning every interaction of yours and checking for purity, checking for pure intentions. That's probably how your ego is showing itself. And I call it the reverse ego. And it's beautiful, it's precious, and we have to learn to master that. Fact is, both of these expressions aren't truth. Neither is the truth that I'm the shit, nor is the truth that I'm not worth anything. Both of it isn't true. Your ego is here to propel and assist your spirit in its evolution. So if it's holding you back, we got some inner alchemy to do. And the pricing of your time, products, or services is such a beautiful playground for expansion. And I'm not going to be able to touch on all of the woundings or all of the trauma, all of the reason that can lead to undercharging. but we're going to go into the most prevalent ones, or the ones that I experienced or that the people I work with experience the most. Let's get started with number one, victimization. Self-victimization and the victimization of others. One thing that I know for myself and that I hear from many other women is, well, I want to make it affordable for my people. So let's dive into this. Sounds great, right? Sounds amazing. Like, you're a good person. Of course you want to make it affordable. You want to help people. Whew. Okay, let's dive into this a little deeper. The first question we have to ask you is, who are your people? Who are your people? Because there is a big difference between your people, which might mean the people you grew up around, your family, your old friends, the people you went through to school with, the people from your neighborhood, whatever, right? From your country, whatever that means. There's a difference between your people and the people you serve. So first, when you say your people, what do you mean by that? Who are you talking to? And what you will actually find is that usually you're talking to yourself. So are we actually talking about other people? Or are we talking about an old, victimized version of yourself that you are attempting to save? And you will find in a lot of cases, that's probably it. What you're actually doing is you're attempting to serve an old version of you that at one point felt hopeless, helpless, stuck, limited, devastated, trapped in a system, trapped in a matrix, trapped in poverty limitations, whatever this is. So your people is actually an old, victimized version of yourself. And that's super vital to go into that, because that changes everything. I get that sometimes it can be hard for us to upgrade our perspective on ourselves, because we've been in this body, right? We witnessed every single moment. And if we spend our life in a certain frequency range for 20, 30, 40 years, we tend to look at ourselves like this version without ever upgrading who we are. Even though we might have shifted completely within the last 5 years, we might still feel this loyalty to this old victimized version that had certain belief systems, that believed certain things about money, that believed certain things about success. And there is this false loyalty, or the sense of we have to serve that version of us to not betray ourselves. And so I really want you to sit with that, because I know that a lot of us are dealing with some form of that, where there's something in our subconscious. And here's the thing. You are you right now. I'm not saying that old version of you doesn't matter, but the old version has received many, many upgrades, because that old version was flawed in her thinking. She simply didn't have all the information. So she was actually never stuck. She was never hopeless. She was never helpless. And the same goes for your people. Even if you're addressing your people, and let's say you're talking about your old friends, old people you went to school with, people from your hood, from your neighborhood, from your city, whatever. If you're speaking about them, chances are that they resonate with that old, outdated version of you. So they might be a reflection of that helplessness, that hopelessness, that self-victimization, all of these things. You cannot serve them. They are not ready to be served. Just like that old version of you wasn't ready to be served. If she was, she would have found ways out of it earlier. But whatever she was in didn't allow her to receive an upgrade. So all of that isn't really true. So now if you're loyal to that old version of yourself or these old people, your people, you're actually serving people that can't be served. Because let's face it, if someone is in victimization and they pay for your product, and it's a luxury product, or they pay for your goods and they pay for your services, especially if you're in the mentoring or coaching realm, they will always feel like you robbed them. When people are in that stage, when you were in that stage maybe, nothing could have helped you out of it. Because when people invest, first of all, they project way too many expectations on it. They have so many fears connected to money. If they would invest in your products, they would feel robbed either way, right? They're not ready for that amount of up-leveling. Again, whether it's through products or through offerings. So right now, with that specific example, we're talking about usually coaching offerings, courses, whatever products. So I know that because I wasn't ready. Back then, I didn't know that healing was a lifelong dedication. And if someone came along and told me, hey, I can assist you, I can be your coach, just pay me $2,000, I would have felt like this is a fucking scam. And whatever that person would have shifted for me, I would have still felt like I was being robbed. So there is a big difference in people that need saving and people that need serving. And people that need saving, you will never be able to serve. You can only serve people that are ready to receive serving. Big difference. Also, this is exactly what your free offerings are for. This is what freebies are for. This is what free masterclasses are for. This is what your social media presence is for. Your social media, whether that's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is here to educate people. Because the only way you can assist people that are in that stage is by offering them free education. That's the only way that they won't feel taken advantage of. That's the only way that they don't feel victimized. And even then you'll have people that complain about the ad that is in your video or complain about your 2-minute mentioning of your product. The only way to serve these people is with free content, and that's what it's for. And with that, you're getting them ready to be able to invest, whether they invest into you or they invest into their own growth. That's what it's meant for. And with that comes the question of, what is this whole martyr thing that a lot of us are still running? Because I know we love that shit. And the question here for you is, would you still do it if no one was ever recognizing you for it? Would you still charge less because you want to serve your people and you want to make it affordable for your people if no one ever recognized you for that? If no one was ever grateful for it? If no one ever saw what you were doing? Because it's basically you're doing them a favor that no one ever asked for. So if you've never received gratitude for that, if no one would ever recognize you for that, would you still do it? Big question. And if I look back into my own life, I love to be recognized for things. I love to be cherished. There might be a part of me that wants to say, I don't do it for the recognition. And in some parts that is true, but in other parts, I deserve to be recognized. I deserve to be seen, right? Because what is recognition? It's being seen by someone else. I started to ask myself that question. If I'm not going to get recognition for it, am I going to do that? Or Even if no one was seeing what I'm doing here, would I still do that? And so that's a very important question for you to implement beyond your pricing and what you're offering. But just in general, when you do things, really ask from that perspective of, okay, let's assume no one's gonna see what I'm doing here and no one's gonna recognize me for who I really am and what I'm really offering. Would I still offer that? Friendships, relationships, right? That's a really good question to ask. And just to come back to who you're serving, right? To bring it back. You are serving a reflection of yourself. So let's look at the upgraded you. The fact that you're watching this video, the fact that you've started your own business in some way, whether that's a product or again, that's a coaching business, whatever you're doing, shows that you're devoted, you're courageous. I can assume that you're emotionally intelligent and you're creative. So therefore, the people you serve will have the same traits. And guess what's going to happen to someone that is creative, courageous, devoted, emotionally intelligent, and ambitious? They're going to be able to at some point invest in you and invest in themselves and invest in products. It's not going to be a big deal for them because these traits will get you somewhere. So that is who you're serving. You're not serving an old part of you that wasn't even true in the first place, but you're serving who you are now. And if you go back to the basics, I am sure that these traits will fit with you. So that's who you're serving. And that might not be your family, that might not be your old people, that might not be your friends. And even Jesus was just a man back in his hometown. So also think about that, right? The people that you grew up with might never look at you like someone they want to invest in. And that's all right. They don't need to. So number 2 that we have to look at is perfectionism, is procrastination, and insecurity, maybe fear. And the voice of perfectionism, fear, insecurity could come through in many different ways. But it usually sounds like, I'm still in practice, the product isn't good enough yet, it needs more iteration, I'm not ready yet, I'm still working on it, next time, right? Or I need this certification. All of these things, like it could come through in any of these ways. There's nothing wrong with questioning if your product is ready, if your offering is ready. But if it becomes chronicle, if it comes to a point where you're in a loop, where you're chronically undercharging, and that is your excuse for why it's okay to undercharge, we gotta look at certain things. So let's start here. The art of self-initiation is quite new to us. So we're very used to having someone else tell us when we're ready to do a certain thing, right? Either we get that validation through outside sources like degrees, universities, colleges, certifications, our boss giving us a raise and telling us that it's time for a raise now. So we're very used to that outside validation, that outside source that is telling us you are ready for the next level. And self-initiation is new to us. It's unexplored territory, but it is something we have to master. So we have to learn how the invitations of universe sounds like, how they come through for us. Because in that new paradigm that we're moving into, certifications are pointless, right? No one else is going to come in and say, you are ready now, raise your prices or raise the price for your product. No one else is going to do that for you. And when I say certifications are pointless, Not that they're always pointless, right? There are certain skills that are very valuable to learn, but no certification will actually shut that voice down, because if procrastination or perfectionism or insecurity goes unmastered, it will always find another avenue. So it's not actually about the certification. And in this new paradigm that we're stepping into, your energetic embodiment and what you are, what you've grown into, that is your certification. So we're learning how to free ourselves from outside validation. So how do I know when universe is inviting me into a different frequency range? And this is where things get really, really interesting. Now, I congratulate you if you're simply someone that can read a thing in a book or hear something once and then just copy paste it, adapt it, implement it, and let it work for you. Like, fucking great if that's you. If someone comes to you and is telling you, hey, you gotta raise your prices, and you're just like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna raise my prices. Great. If you're anything like me, that's probably not going to work for you, because there needs to be an inner alchemical process connected to that. So I can read something 100 times or I can listen to something 100 times, but unless it lands, unless it really hits the spot, unless it activates something in me, triggers something in me, or I have an epiphany around it, I cannot take action on it, because it would feel utterly fake for me. And I don't believe that this is a limiting belief or that this is a flaw at all. I believe that this is very natural. So that's the reason why for the last 2 years, I really knew that I wasn't charging enough. And more than 20 people told me that, right? I've heard it over and over again, like at least 20 times. But that's the reason why I couldn't act on it the first time someone told me that, because it wasn't my truth yet. Like, I knew it, I recognized it, but something hasn't clicked within. And this is where the inner alchemical process comes in. So your inner alchemical process is kind of like the go from God that it's now time to take action. It's the go from God that you've transcended that frequency range and it's time for you to step into a new frequency range. And if you were to ignore that and you were going to do it anyways without this inner alchemy happening, you would kind of just do it from an egoic place. It's kind of like, it's empty. It's a fake facade. Like, yes, you changed something on the outside, but nothing changed within, which means life will probably not respond to it. And this is also where the question comes in. How do I know that people will respond to my new prices? How do I know that if I raise my prices, someone was going to buy it? Well, it's kind of easy. The way you know is if an inner alchemical process happened around it. Now, you're like, okay, wait, this is kind of intangible. You've mentioned this word. What does that mean? And yeah, this is where things get a little intangible, because every inner alchemical process looks different. Yours looks different than mine. So I'm going to give you a tangible example. My inner alchemical process is frustration, right? So the undercharging thing was a theme that came up for 2 years, but I wasn't frustrated about it. I was chill about it. I was kind of like, yeah, I know I'm undercharging, but that's just what it is. Raising my prices wouldn't feel natural right now. And other people could come in and say, oh, it's a limiting belief system or whatsoever. No, it wasn't. Because I needed to learn lessons that I could only learn while charging a little undervalue. I learned so many valuable things in this time that I wouldn't have learned any other way. And even though maybe our ego would love us to go through life without challenges, right? And our ego is like, oh, I want to make $10,000 a day. Okay, but maybe your spirit came here for lessons that sometimes you can only learn the hard way. And again, I don't believe that's a limiting belief system. That's the school of life. And The moment I've learned my lessons, the moment I was done with gathering evidence and observing, I felt immense frustration around my prices, around my offerings, around the way my offerings were received or not received. And there is a primordial ancient rage that comes up in me. That's frustration. And that's something that is moving my cells into action. Like, it's so intense. Like, for me personally, I call it my dragon energy. I cannot ignore it. It's intense. Everyone can feel it. It can be felt like 10 miles away. Like, I am an intense being and I'm very authentic in it. Like, if it comes through, it comes through. And my man can handle it, thank God. But then I vent and this ancient rage comes up. That's when I know, okay, that is a natural progression. Life is inviting you into more expansion. You reaching that level of frustration is your go from God, your go from universe to take action and move into the next frequency range. Now, for me, frustration is my motivator, and it doesn't work any other way. Like, anything else doesn't have the same effect. And so when that happens, I know that my outer reality will have to respond, because this was such a natural process and such an intense inner alchemical process, right? Tears are flowing, I'm angry, all of these things. So that shows me that I am co-creating with life right now. If there is no internal activation, you are not co-creating with universe. Your ego wanted something and you followed along, because co-creation always comes with activation, always. And so this is how you know. And your inner alchemical process might look different. So for me, it's frustration. Frustration is my motivator. For you, this could look like excitement, sadness, bitterness, whatever. And a good way to look into this is maybe check your human design and look into your not self theme. I know that people don't explain it that way, but to me, my not self theme in human design, which for the generators and the generating manifestors is frustration, that's my go from God, right? That's the sign, not that I'm off path, but to me, that's the sign that, all right, honey, you're ready for the next level. You've learned that lesson, go on now. So for you, maybe it's bitterness, maybe it's sadness, right? Check that. You might feel that this resonates, and that not self theme means, to me, not that I'm off path, but it means, oh, I've learned my lesson. The lesson is completed, on to the next. And this is where I get a little annoyed with my manifestation babes out there that are just like, well, if you want it, just go and get it. You can have it all. Just manifest it. Just change it already. Just declare it already. Yes, and life is bigger than you. Life is bigger than your egoic desires. All our ego desires is to freaking smooth sail through life. But the lessons are the gold nuggets. We're here for the lessons. Yes, we're here to enjoy. Yes, we're here to create enjoy. Yes, we're here to experience the other polarity of hardship. But that's not all that it is. And so you can fake it and you can take action on something without an inner alchemical process, but it might not be real. And if it's not real, meaning nothing happened inside, the outer reality might not respond. And the Ayama process is something that I offer in every single course and in every single long-term one-on-one commitment, because that Ayama process will literally induce an inner alchemy process. So this is a very, very valuable process. And if you ever work with me, this process alone is worth it. Like, it absolutely will change the game for your inner work. So with all of that, I can't make you raise your prices. So all I can do is offer my perspectives, and that might be a seed that is sprouting right now. Maybe right after this video, you're like, all right, all right, I'm done here, I'm ready for the next level. Or maybe you will need to sit with that for another year because there are more lessons for you to extract here. And when your elevation is backed up energetically, you know that it's time for a change. Number 3, the next pack of wounding that feels like a really good excuse for chronicle undercharging is fear and a lack of accountability while being overly responsible. And I know this kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but it's like a wild mix of all of these things. And that could sound like, well, I don't want to charge too much because I want to be able to make mistakes, because I want to be able to F up. Okay, now my question is, whoever buys your product or buys into your service or gives you your paycheck based on that excuse, how truthful can this feel for them? If you are creating your value for your time, for your products, for your services on fear and on that fantasy scenario that you will fuck up, how good can that feel? How good do you think that feels for your employer to pay you? How good do you think that feels for that client of yours to buy into your services? Right? How truthful can this interaction really be? And also, sometimes it really helps to simply bring logic into this. Now, again, it might not be exactly that, but something like that is kind of in the subconscious of a lot of us. You know, what if I can't deliver? Like, I want to be able to F up, something like that. And if we don't go deeper, that sounds really reasonable at first, right? Like, yeah, it'll be great to have some wiggle room to make mistakes. But for that, let's first define, what does effing up even mean? Like, what would a mistake even mean? Can you define that? Or is this just this, like, endless, bottomless pit? Is that what you call it? But you know what I mean? Is this just like eternally an excuse? A mistake? Define that. And once you define it and you bring logic into it, you might see that that isn't really valid. It's not really a valid reason to charge less than I know my time, my product, my offering, my service is worth. And what your product is worth is not just something that is decided by your logical mind, right? Yes, you can take into consideration what other people in that same career are making, right? You can approach it from a very logical standpoint, which might help. But also, this has nothing to do with your body. Your body decides what the right energetic investment is. Your body will let you know. And I can give you plenty of examples for it, right? The first time that I ever came out of a long quantum healing sessions, and my QHHT sessions are 7 hours long. The first time I came out of it absolutely revitalized and not the tiniest bit drained in energy was when I actually received what the session was worth. And at that time, that was $800. That was the first time I got out of the session and it felt good. And that's when I knew, oh, that's my price. And I was chronically undercharging. So yes, it's your logical mind that can look into, oh, what are other people charging? What is that, whatever, salary? That has nothing to do with your body experience. For your body, that might be twice as much. And then you know it's natural for you. But also, let's make it logical. What if you F up? What if you make a mistake? Well, you can always refund that person. Or if you were paid to do a job and you weren't able to deliver, well, what's going to happen? Right? You can always say, okay, let me get someone on the team that can do that job. Let me find someone who can do it. I thought I could do it. I can't. Right? There's all, like, let's cross that bridge when we get there. If your product didn't deliver, well, you can always return the money. right? I had this, like, my friend from Germany, she had this Reiki session with this rapper dude. And I guess it was his first time receiving Reiki, and they knew each other from back then. And so he came to see her. And within the session, he was literally like, what the fuck? I paid money for this shit? I can't believe I paid money for this shit. And that is literally like, right? That's kind of like the worst case scenario. That's what coaches are so afraid of. And she was so chill. She was just like, what? You don't think you're worth that investment? And I'm like, you're the GOAT, girl. Like, that was so awesome. But at the same time, if that happens, you're like, okay, well, bro, I'm sorry that I couldn't help you. Have your money back, my man. Not a big deal, right? So it's like, cross that bridge when you get there, but don't chronically undercharge based on a fantasy scenario that might never happen. Also, why are you holding yourself to the lowest possible standard? Why would you rather leave wiggle room for lower standards than leave wiggle room for higher standards? That's also a very important question to ask. And in that, we're moving to one of the most important principles when it comes to charging. Like I said, your body knows, right? Your logical mind can assist, but your body knows what is a good price. It will feel exciting. It will feel maybe a little uncomfortable. It will feel like it will always hold you accountable to your highest possible standards, your highest possible deliverance, right? It's like it's expansive. That's what a perfect price is. It's expansive for you. It's expansive for your client. And really implement that, because it could be expensive or it could be expansive. And what if everything that is expensive is actually just expensive? So I would really recommend you to switch these words. Don't use the word expensive. What does that even mean? It's expansive, like, ooh, that price is expanding me into a whole nother layer of myself. Well, that's a really beautiful way to look at it. So yeah, maybe your prices should be expensive because they're expansive. So with that, you cannot bullshit your energy system because your body knows what the value is. And there are such things as energetic laws. And like I said, you can't bullshit energy. And if you undercharge an interaction, energy knows. So you're not doing anyone a favor, because the energy will seek to balance itself out, and that will always come to bite you in the ass. If you're not charging enough, you will suffer, plus the person who's buying your product or your client will suffer, because the energy will always seek balance. Let me give you some tangible examples how real these energetic laws are and how important it is for us to honor these energetic laws, because you don't want any form of sacrifice when it comes to your work, right? You don't want to burden your client or the person you're selling your product to. And the other way around, your client or the person that just bought a product doesn't want to feel like they owe you something. And if you don't charge enough, they have to devalue what you're offering, because they don't want to feel guilty. They don't want to feel like they received more than what they gave. So they will actually limit what they're able to receive. And I can tell you that from my own experiences. When I charge the amount that the session is really worth, and again, my body decides that, everyone gets the best out of it. I leave expanded, the client leaves mind blown, expanded, shaken to the core. Miracles happen. If I undercharge, I feel drained. The person feels like something's weird here. Like, it can't be that good because why is she charging so little? Like, something must be wrong here. Or they won't listen to your words. They won't value your words because literally what they paid for doesn't feel like a miraculous healing. So they're not able to receive. And they're a mirror. So if you're not able to receive what your sessions are worth, the person is not able to receive what could happen in these sessions or what your product could deliver, right? It's literally not possible. And let me give you an example from, I freaking love her. She's my mom's age and she's my massage practitioner. She's German. She lives here in Sedona. I freaking love this woman. And the first time I had a massage session for her, I'm like, oh, yo, that's a really good deal, right? That's really affordable. And I was super happy because we all love a good deal. And I came to see her. The massage was 2 hours. I ended up being 6 hours in her little massage hub. And 4 hours were spent us having a conversation and me kind of giving a lot of my energy. And I thought at first, well, you know, she's German. There's this, I don't know, like motherly type of vibe. I'm like, great. The second time, the same thing happened. The third time, the same thing happened. And after that, I maybe went to see her one more time, but I'm like, fuck, I love her, but I can't do this, right? If I want to receive a massage, I just want to receive. And okay, I'm paying this really affordable amount, but I'm sitting there now for 5 to 6 hours, somehow giving my own session, and I don't really feel rejuvenated afterwards, right? And if you just want to receive, it's really just counterintuitive to give a session, right? It just felt weird, and I get it, right? It made total sense why that happened, because she should have charged 2 or 3 times as much, but because her belief systems didn't allow her to do so, but her energetic system knew something is off. So her field will naturally seek balance. And because her belief systems don't allow for that balance to come through in what she charges for the session, it comes through in what she kind of takes beforehand. All right, you get the point. And I could give you more examples. Like I have plenty more examples where that happened. And again, nothing wrong with that. But if you don't want this unclean exchange for your people, make sure that the prices are clean. And I had that many times when I was undercharging my sessions. The people that had cleared out this wound would always give me a crazy generous tip. Like the people that didn't have this weird belief system around money would oftentimes give me the same amount of tip that I would ask for the session. And after that, it always felt really clean. So that's how I really learned, okay, we're done here with this stuff, Melissa. Just charge what your body requires. And then the person will get the best out of the session. So that's how I learned. And that's such a vital lesson to learn, because you don't want to be a freaking vampire, right? You don't want to do weird things. You don't want your people to undervalue your products or your services because you didn't charge enough and they can't allow themselves by energetic law to really receive everything that happened here. And of course, right, there are gray zones. We're generalizing here, but I think you get the point, and that's something really important to implement. The last wound that we're going to explore is perfectionism. And again, perfectionism doesn't have to be a wounding. Perfectionism is beautiful. Perfectionism is also the same energy that propels us towards constant improvement. The way you can detect it as a wounding is if perfectionism becomes a form of punishment or imprisonment. So in that case, if perfectionism is the constant reason for you to undercharge, then you know, okay, perfectionism just turned into a wound. So let's explore that. And the way this can sound like is, well, I can't charge more yet because it's just not good enough. I'm just not there yet. It's just not good enough. And it's similar to the one before, but this one I really want to address for my mentors, my oracles, my coaches, healers, my healing doulas, my space creators, right? This comes in especially when you're offering something that is intangible, like a healing session, right? With a product, it can be easier because it's more tangible. Could be, maybe not. But with healing sessions, there is this like, what does that even mean? And so the whole good enough thing is a core wound of us, right? This comes up in a lot of ways. I'm just not good enough. It's just not good enough. So you're projecting this onto your services. So here, I want to add a perspective that you might have not heard yet. And again, first I'm going to ask you to define what the F means good enough. Like actually put it into something tangible. Make this intangible thing tangible. So it's no longer this like hungry ghost thing that is just constantly like looming and is always an excuse for undercharging. Because you could do this eternally. If you never define what good enough really means, if you don't give good enough actual numbers, facts, something tangible, you can always play this out, right? You can always use this as an excuse. So get really logical here. What does good enough mean? And here's where my perspective comes in, especially when it comes to coaching, healing sessions where intangible things happen. Good enough means God has entered the space. As simple as that. And this has really nothing to do with a skill set or whatsoever. This is literally just based on with how much devotion are you and your client are showing up with. And that's often why you can have any degree that you want. You can have any certification you want. You can have mastered and regurgitated a session or protocol or whatsoever. But if God isn't present, all of these skill set will lead to a mediocre session at best. That's why oftentimes in therapy, the sessions are good. But everyone I speak to has never left their therapist and said, yo, that was life-changing to the core. This is also why you're not offering therapy as a coach. Very, very different. You are not a therapist as an ascension coach, as someone that is here to bring expansion to someone's life. So really know the difference here. Because when you're with a therapist, there's a lot of skill set present. There's a lot of protocol present. The analytical mind is present. The psychological assessment is present. But God isn't present. And God can only be present if you push yourself to the side. If you're thinking that you're the one inducing change, you've got something wrong. If you're thinking that you are doing the healing or you are somehow responsible for the healing, you've got something wrong, my love. Only when you and your people, your clients, come to the session with reverence and devotion, only then is there a space for God to enter. Only then is there a space for divine intervention, miraculous healing. Because reverence is the awe for the eternal mystery. The knowing that at any point something could happen. The eternal mystery could intercept and could change my life and the process and projection of my life forever and eternally. At any point, at any given moment. That is beyond you or any healer. But that reverence is a knowing, that's an awe. And only if the space is filled with that, only then can healing really occur. So now the only thing that is in your control is to set the right foundation for the space. And the easiest way to measure someone's devotion, or the easiest way to have someone show up with the utmost reverence, is by financial investment. Now, of course, right, you could ask someone to renounce their whole life and move to the Himalayas and meditate amongst monks for 6 months and then come back and see you. But you see, that doesn't make sense for the world that we live in. So one very clear way to measure someone's devotion is by a certain investment. What is valuable for the person? And money is valuable for all of us. So an easy way to prime the person to value the session, to value the space, is by a higher investment. This is proving their dedication to their own internal growth and evolution, which again, it has nothing to do with you. And that's also why sessions vary so much. Every session is a mirror session. So it took me a really, really long time to understand that it wasn't me that was inconsistent, that it wasn't me that was sometimes tapped into my oracle and sometimes not. It wasn't me that was sometimes mediocre and sometimes totally there. It was the person that showed up to the session. And by energetic law, you cannot give more into the space than the person that is showing up, right? It's all a mirror. So by energetic law, you can't give more than the person that is showing up to the session. So what I had to realize after long observations, wait, I'm not inconsistent. I'm here. I'm always here. It depends on who's in front of me. Now, if the person in front of me shows up with the utmost devotion, God comes in. Because when there is reverence filling the space, this is when it becomes impactful. And at any point in time, there is no skill set that you need. God can take over the session. Because when the person is listening, and life knows the person is listening to everything you're saying right now, God will come through, because now finally God has a clear channel to communicate with this person. But that isn't you. But God will only reveal itself to those that have reverence and those that have the eyes to see. Now, if someone comes into your session and they paid $200 and it doesn't mean anything for them, and they just talk and talk and talk, and they kind of look at you just like a trash can to allow themselves to process things, and they don't really care about what you have to say, God won't come in. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes these sessions are needed. It just means that if this person isn't valuing your word, God won't come through you to share her or its or his word. Creation, eternal essence of creation won't come through because the receptor isn't there, the reception isn't there, the reverence is missing. So that is what makes the session good. And we revere and we respect what we value. Just the most stupidest example, but if you get your new iPhone and you paid $1,500 for it, right? You'll wrap it in 10 protective layers. You get a screen protection, you get camera lens protection. And somehow you manage to not drop your phone for the first 6 months. But then at a certain point, the value decreases and maybe this thing gets its first scratch and then you dropped it twice and all of a sudden it seems like you drop that shit daily when before you took such good care of it. Like, why is this happening? Because you stopped to care. And so your sessions shouldn't be treated like an old phone. And to make sure that your sessions are treated with reverence, and the foundation is at least created for reverence to happen, you have to raise your prices, because it's the mirror in front of you. It's the client that decides the profoundness of your time together, not just you. God, the I am presence, the oracle within, can take over any session at any time. Now, of course, keep your energy pristine and you can set the foundations. You can exercise, meditate, keep your vessel clean. Of course, that's your job. But then when it's action time, when you actually come together with the people you serve, God will take over. Always, always. The I am presence will take over, always. And that's not on you to decide. And so the higher the investment, the higher the prices, the more reverence comes in. And again, it's generalized. I'm not saying that's true at all times, but reverence needs to be present because that gives your truest and eternal self permission to create the most profound space. Please leave in the comment section if you feel like there's something I forgot to mention, or if there's a wound that is showing up for you, or if there's an excuse that is playing out in your head that wasn't mentioned here. I'd love to hear. Please help out this channel, like and subscribe. We go so deep here, and more women deserve to know about this. Like, this is such valuable stuff here. These are literally reprogramming sessions every time I make a video. And last but certainly not least, I have my Superior Creation bundle, because what I'm most excited for is one-on-one work. Not most excited for. I love videos, I love teaching, I love all of it, but I love the intimate work with you. And this is a bundle that has 30 daily modules. So every single day throughout our month together, you will receive a new initiation, a new process, a new journaling process, inner alchemy work galore, like massive stuff that will serve you for the rest of your journey. Like, I mean that. The Ayama process itself is worth that, and it's a little bit of a complex process, but once you get it, it is life-changing, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, I mean that. This process probably saved my life, for real, and it came through when I was at my lowest point. So plus you'll get 4 calls with me where I really want to create something tangible. Like, we will cut through the BS. Like these are sessions where we go straight to the point because we only have 4 sessions together. But I actually want to create an action step for you. I actually want to create something tangible that you can work with. So we'll make the interior impact, but I also want to then create an exterior action plan that you can follow. So I look at it like, in these 4 weeks, we're going to open a lot of tabs, and you will then have a lot of stuff to work with after the container is over. So you can connect with me, send me an email, you can get on the wait list, or I can let you know when we can start working together. The first spot that's gonna open now is probably May. So let me know and let's get this going. Maybe I can get you in earlier. I'll see. I kind of want to keep this to maximum 2 people a month because I really want to get my focus in there. So depending on where you're at, we can work with that, but that's what I'm so excited for right now. So I love you so much, and again, like, subscribe, check out my website, check out the offerings, check out my new prices, because I'm so excited for them and excited to see what's gonna transpire from there on. And I am out. I love you.